Welcome, my friends, to another terrible Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Usually it's sunny and warm and everything, but now we need a little rain, I suppose. People have planted all their geraniums and tomato plants and all that. And today's guest, who is today's guest? Sheila McElhiney, who spends all her time in the district attorney's office. Thanks for coming in, Sheila.
My
good
pleasure,
to see
Rick.
you.
Good to see you too.
Now, before we get started on that, I'm just going to say, we have a young man in the school named Dennis Peary. I don't know him, but he won All-Star Track and Field Championship, state championship.
Wonderful.
That's wonderful.
That's great.
You have to acknowledge that when a kid goes out there and wins all that trophies and stuff in the state. Now, I think there's 4 or 5 million people in the state, and he's the best one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's good. I think it's awesome.
Dennis.
So we'll give him a little pat on the back for that. And of course, our next order of business is the Woburn 375th celebration of the founding of Woburn. I guess that's what you call it. I'm not so sure. So before I get to Ms. McElhiney, I'm going to read a little bit about this for an introduction. The Mayor Committee of hosts special event with students to kick off city's 375th celebration. Woburn school children are sharing their talents to help celebrate the 375th anniversary of the 1640 settlement of Woburn this year, and I haven't been here since 1640 yet. Wow, 1640, that's pretty good, huh?
It is, very good.
When did the Pilgrims come? They came,
I believe 1620.
So there was people around here for 20 years before they decided they were going to have any government.
Well, there were Native Americans even before that.
They were probably, yeah. It's an interesting thing when you think about the changes, huh? Just the changes in our lifetime.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Well, this is well before our lifetime, but yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since the time you were born, look at all the changes you've seen in medical and
oh, absolutely.
All that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
that's
It's
good.
really,
a lot of progress.
Yeah. I don't know about progress, but there's been a lot of changes, that's for sure. All right. The public is invited to attend a special event on Woburn Common Saturday, June 20th, this Saturday, which will also serve as a kickoff to other celebrations leading up to the 375th anniversary of Woburn's incorporation in 1642. This important event is the culmination of a historical art and essay program launched by Mayor Galvin and members of the 375th Anniversary Committee. So, here we go.
Well
now,
done.
as I understand it, they're going to have the Bible. This all started with the Bible being, the anniversary was going to be the anniversary no matter what.
Right.
Right. Did they have a plan before this Bible deal came up?
Yes. Initially what had happened was I was going through some old books in my own home, and actually during the blizzards, and I was going through my husband's old stuff. And so there's a lot of stuff there, and I was going through some books, and I found some books for Woburn's 200th anniversary, the 250th, the 300th, and whatever. And then I just thought, well, when's the next one? And it turns out that this year would be celebrating the 375th anniversary of the settlement of Woburn. 2 years from now will be the incorporation of Woburn as a town. But I mentioned this to the mayor in a casual conversation, and he was, well, you know, why don't we do something? And one thing led to another, and at some point we formed a committee, and the committee got larger and larger, and is culminating in this weekend's events. And as far as the Bible piece of it is concerned, it is a Bible that was handed down through the Johnson family from the 1600s.
Really?
And yes, really. And Kathy Lucero, our good friend from the Historical Society, had gotten a call from a woman in Connecticut and said that she had the Johnson family Bible and they would like to donate it to the Historical Society. And I mentioned it to Kathy that we're having this anniversary celebration, didn't quite know what form it was going to take yet, but maybe we could incorporate the receiving of the Bible with the anniversary, and it really was fortuitous that they both happened to be coming along at the same time. So Kathy then contacted the woman in Connecticut and said she'd be happy to participate, and she is. She's coming up on Saturday. I believe it's a 3-hour drive, and she's going to present the Bible to the mayor, who will then in turn present it to Kathy to accept on behalf of the Historical Society. So that was just a nice little extra piece that we didn't really plan on,
that'd be good, yeah.
but it's adding to the event.
I think that when the city, when people in this community, for some reason or another, when somebody comes up with an idea that seems to stick, you know, and they say, that's a good idea, then all of a sudden, boom, boom.
Oh, it's been wonderful.
Now you turn around in the Lions and the Kiwanis, they got
Exactly.
cook hot dogs in the back
Exactly.
around the car, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You think they just give the Bible and say, see you later, we're
Right.
going
Oh, no,
home.
this has turned into exactly what you said.
Yeah.
And for me, it's been very exciting to see that interest. And one of the pieces of the puzzle basically is we thought maybe we'd have the school children participate by doing projects, artwork. And so Kathy and myself gave the students some subject matter, being on the tanneries, the Middlesex Canal, the Revolution, and Into the Wilderness, the very early years. And Gary Reese, who is the assistant superintendent, has been wonderful and disseminated that material throughout the schools.
He's a nice young man.
Wonderful, and the schools have been extremely supportive. And those pictures that the children drew are going to be turned into banners. And starting on Thursday, I believe this week, Tucker Quinn, who's been awesome, has stepped up. And they're going to hang, I believe, 208 banners of the children's artwork around the Common as well as down Main Street. And it should be quite a sight to see 208 banners of children's artwork being
because
displayed.
I think the children will get, it gives them an opportunity for, you know, the parents, drive me downtown, I want to go
Absolutely.
down
Well,
there
that's what
and
we're
want to
hoping.
show you my sign, my, my
That's what
flag
we're
that
hoping.
I made, yeah.
And there were so many great pieces of artwork that the children did. I believe there were about 2,000 that we went through. And it was hard to pick, you know, because some of them are so good, but we did narrow it down to, I believe, 208 for being on the Common itself and surrounding Main Street. But the rotunda for City Hall is also going to be open because we are hanging an additional 300 pictures in the rotunda. So other women and helpers.
Where were the 300, where'd they come from?
From the schools.
Okay.
We had 2,000
Oh, all right.
students.
Okay, these are the flags that are going to be in the same kind of a flag. Some of them are going to be in the rotunda, or these are regular pictures?
The pictures themselves will be in the rotunda. So we've had a lot of support from the Historical Society members, who Michelle Ferrullo and Ellen Hamilton and Pat Hughes, among others, who are going to help hang 300 pictures in the rotunda inside City Hall. So after the ceremony on Saturday, the public is going to be invited to go in and view that artwork as well. So we'll have hopefully at least 500 children's artwork being displayed.
Is there a time set for, like, I mean, do you have any idea how long this is going to last? Because some husbands or fathers are going to say, oh, I want to go golfing. It's only going to be for an hour, so you know, you can go after it. How long will it take to do all this, you think?
We're hoping for about an hour, but I think realistically it might be closer to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We'll start right at 10.
That's not bad.
And there'll be, you know, a proclamation by the mayor, a proclamation from Representative Dwyer. Father Shea from St. Charles Parish will give a prayer, a blessing. The presentation of the Bible. We'll have the veterans going to lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance. There is someone lined up to sing the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah, that's right. They said they're going to have music there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the Lions graciously offered to host refreshments afterwards. So we're hoping that the formal part of the program will not go much longer than an hour, you know, but...
which one? We'll have to have Dwyer. No, we won't get him. Is anybody going to speak like a little bit about the history of Woburn?
Yes, Kathy Lucero is going to do that.
She's going to do that. Yeah. So she's home doing her homework.
I'm sure she knows it already.
How's her husband?
I hear he's doing well.
Okay.
You know, he had us nervous and scared for a while,
but
it sounds like he's so far so good.
It's not good for his golf game.
No, but hopefully he'll get back to it.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. He's a good guy.
He's a great guy.
You know, a great athlete. He's a great tennis player, too.
He is. He's
But Mrs. Lucero, she's into everything, isn't she?
Well, she is, and she does everything so well. So we know this is going to be a great event.
They pop right up. Who's on the committee? Oh, Kathy's on there, that's for sure.
That's right, absolutely.
So she'll give a little history. She's already into the history of Woburn a little bit anyway in her own mind.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. So she knows all the dates and all that stuff.
Sure.
And where the Johnsons came, do you know anything about them?
well, Captain Edward Johnson, who's considered one of the founding fathers of Woburn.
Yeah.
They came over, I believe, in the 1600s from England.
This is the Captain Johnson?
Right.
The guy
And
that
then
we talked about?
When Charlestown was settled,
Charlestown, right.
Woburn was actually part of Charlestown. You probably
yeah.
know that.
We learned that in school, yeah.
Okay. And then the colonial legislature was going to give Charlestown more land. And so a group of 7 men, Captain Edward Johnson being one of them, came out this way and then decided to settle on Woburn Common. And that's when...
Did they actually settle right there? That
yes.
was it?
Yeah, they originally settled, from what I understand, they settled over in East Woburn briefly, but then as far as the real permanent first settlement of Woburn is considered to be the center, which will be wonderful, and that's why we're having the event there.
So, I would have liked, would you be a fly on the wall, those conversations? Our 7 guys show up in Woburn Common and say, okay.
This is it.
I want to have Library Park for my homestead.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, why not?
And I don't even know if there was roads there. They just horses and paths must have been.
Mm-hmm.
So it must have been, I think the history of all this part of the country is a little different from everybody else, because I don't think we weren't revolutionaries. We were just Tories looking for a place to go and get the king off your butt, you know. That was the whole deal, right?
Very much so, yeah.
So that's interesting.
And they came to found a church as well. That was one of the reasons of the settlement as well.
So then, I don't know if you know, they had a government. They must have set up a government.
Well,
those 7 guys must have, women. There was probably no women didn't even vote.
Not in that particular group. And actually, Captain Edward Johnson acted as the first recorder of the first official meeting, which I believe it was in December of 1640.
Really?
Right. So he was considered the first clerk of the city. And so there is a town record that goes back to 1640, with Captain Edward Johnson being the recorder of that first meeting.
Did you read, you were going in, and then when you look out the window and the snow was up halfway up the door, did you read all the history of Woburn?
Well,
all the old papers and books?
Well, we have a lot of that around the home, yes. Yeah.
So you got a pretty good education as far as the city is concerned.
Well,
because you know more than anybody else knows, that's for sure, if you read all that stuff. I think we knew it was Charleston. I think Winchester was part of Woburn.
Winchester was part of Woburn, parts of Burlington, parts of Stoneham. We're all part of Woburn at one point. Yeah.
I remember a long time ago, I did some work for a Woburn lawyer, and he represented the Cummings family, and they were Tories, and when they came here, it was getting into the revolutionary situation, and the King of England gave the Cummings family like almost all of Burlington. It was like the whole place.
Probably,
they're still there.
Yep.
And over a period of years, they just sold little pieces of it till it probably all disappeared now. But you say, wow, you know, if you were on the right side of the guy, the king writes a piece of paper and say, you own all of this property.
Just like that.
Yeah. So we got to get back to Saturday morning, so 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, and hopefully we have lots of parents and children, and then the whole public is invited.
We're going to get at least, how many? We're going to get at least a couple of hundred parents. All the mothers are going to come.
Absolutely, we hope.
So how many signs we putting up, though?
I believe either 208 or 210.
So how big? They're pretty big too, right?
They are.
Maybe 3 feet by 2 feet, something like that.
I think something like that. And then it'll say "Celebrate Woburn" and the dates, and then the children's artwork
of 1640, what they thought 1640 might have looked like.
Right. We saw a lot of colonial tannery workers, or Middlesex canals, or one school must have concentrated on the Baldwin apple, talking about Colonel Baldwin, because there were lots of pictures of apples.
Yeah.
So, and the children learned, some of their Woburn history from doing the artwork, and that was the point of the whole project, really. So they've learned a lot.
Any Indians around there in those days?
Oh, there were the Aborigines. The Aboriginians. Where it was one of the tribes who were here. Because naturally, when these 7 men, first settlers, came, there were Native
Oh yeah, we
Americans
made
over
a
here.
deal with the Indians, and then we
Right.
stole their land and said, "Get out of
Yeah,
town."
that's for another show, yeah.
I know, I know. That's too bad.
But
That's
they,
too bad.
they were here, obviously, first, the Native Americans, Aborigines.
All right. So we're going to go down at 10 o'clock. There's going to
I
be
hope
the
so.
presentation of the Bible, and then all the politicians are going to get something to say. And this is wonderful. You know, they say these speeches.
Yeah,
The
why
30th
not? It is
Middlesex.
wonderful.
It is,
375 years, that's terrific.
Yeah. Well, they'll be in the
Something-
history book, because the other thing about it now is that we have programs like this. These things are all recorded. The kids are
That's
they
right.
get them all recorded in there in alphabetical order or however they do it. So historians in the future, when this stuff is all put away someplace.
That's right. Well, that's
will
what
be
I was
able to
looking
come-
at. You know, I was looking at, you know, the 200th and the 250th anniversary and the 300th anniversary. So they were
But
very.
was there any film on that? Was there any cameras, pictures?
There were pictures in the books, and they were hard-covered books, and it would have the program of the events. And some years they put very elaborate theater productions on
Really?
regarding the history of Woburn.
Yeah.
Called The Wonderful World of Woburn, I believe, was the name of the production. Yeah.
I remember they had a big, I forget now, I can't remember. The 25th was, they had a big party out here in the old school football field, I think, and everybody was growing beards.
Yes, there were pictures of that.
And having, riding a donkey and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think they made a few bucks, I don't know, I don't remember,
I don't know.
you know, whatever happened to it, but that's wonderful.
And actually, and we were lucky with Northern Bank and Trust basically gave us the financial support to have the flags made. So that was a wonderful contribution.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
That's
We are
it?
out. I'm going to kick you
There you
out of
go.
here while I
Oh,
finish
awesome.
the program.
Thank you. Hey, thank you so
Time goes
much.
by. You can come back anytime you want.
Oh,
You know,
the pleasure's
time
mine.
fast it goes.
It does. But are you going to come on Saturday?
Yeah, I'll come down.
Good.
Sure.
Good, yeah, it should be fun.
Jennifer, can we see the weather, please? All right, here we are, back from the weather. I was daydreaming, that's why I didn't say anything while the weather was on. Okay, Mrs. Ahern, what did she leave us here to talk about for the rest of the 18 minutes? We got a few minutes left. I think I started off with Dennis Peary. He's a kid that won the track and field state championship in some like decathlon or something. Did a whole bunch of things, but he won a state championship. I think it's a wonderful thing for an individual kid to go out there and do all that work and get recognized. And I would say he had a coach. His coach's name I think was Fowl. I'm not sure, but good luck to him too. So that's just wonderful. And as Mrs. McElhiney said, we're having the big celebration on the beginning of the city of Woburn in 1640. Unbelievable. But to get back into 2015, the budget figure was set at $134 million. The council backs Galvin budget plan. It's unbelievable that a mayor in the year of 2015 can submit a budget. Everybody goes, thanks, that's good. That's a good budget. Unbelievable. I can remember days they'd be arguing about it for all night long and all the next day, and be in there on Saturdays and line by line. But there wasn't any TV, and I don't know whether that inhibits the conversation or how that works. But I'm sure there's members of the city council that would voice their objections. But I think they have an opportunity these days to yeah, right. I think they have an opportunity these days to say their piece, so that's good. And I think the city has a little bit easier time with like the free cash type part of it because of the restaurant tax. That was a well-found way to get the money. I don't know who dreamt that up, but whoever did us a big favor, because we have a lot of great restaurants. People come and we get a little bit of that few pennies out of everybody that buys a sandwich. So it's a very good deal. Now, letter to the editor. Woburn teachers deserve support by Dorothy Perry. I think they do. I think every teacher in the world deserves support. And I think every resident of the city of Woburn would support the teachers. I don't think that we get, I'm sure when you get, I don't know how many teachers there are. There got to be 300 or 400 teachers in the city, I guess. So I'm sure there's a couple that are not as good as the rest. But I think 99.4% of the teachers in the city of Woburn are good teachers, and they do a great job educating the children. So I understand her letter and her support of the teachers, but I don't see anything in there that, I don't know why they don't have a contract. If I knew that, I'd say it, but I can't say it because I'd be making it up. Maybe I should make it up and then see what happens. Maybe they'll all come out and say, well, that Walker's a liar anyway, so you change the thing all around. But I wish it would get over with. You know, the teachers, I come over here in the morning, some teachers are in the parking lot and they're sitting in the cars and they're doing their work sitting in the car instead of being in their office at their desk. You know what I mean? It's just kind of stupid. Because these things all get resolved. We had the chairman of the school committee on here last week, John Wells, and he's been on there long enough to know that these things are cyclical, yeah, I guess, are cyclical, so that, you know, sooner or later, it'll all be resolved and everybody will be happy. So I don't know why we go through these processes. It's just a waste of time, you know. I think anyway, but I'm sure it's not a waste of time if people are trying to get a raise. Hurld-Wyman vote near. School board ready to cede control of the Clapp. That means nothing. That doesn't mean anything, because they're going to give it over to the school committee, is going to give it over to the city, and then the city's going to start to argue about what they should do with it, and then there will be an argument over whether it should be torn down or rebuilt into elderly housing or some kind of thing like that. So, I mean, the Clapp School is going to be there for a while, I think, because you can't have a building as big as that school is, where I don't know if the roof leaks or the windows leak or whatever, but there's a lot of steel and brickwork there that can be rehabilitated and put into some other use if the city wishes that. Now, we'll have to listen to my friend, Mrs. DiTucci, who will say the city promised that they'd tear it down. So that'll be argued over the next few months. But so having a comment that they're ready to cede the school, I don't know what, yeah, cede, that means cede control of the school, but that school's going to be there for a while. Security equipment costs $17,600 because we have to have new screening. Equipment is coming to the schools. Now, I don't know if you ever tried to get into the Joyce Junior High School, where they have the administration offices. It's like trying to get into the White House, because I don't know who's in there that's so important outside of the children, but I'm sure the superintendent of schools and all those people and, are in there, and they want to make sure that there's not a lot of people that go in there and tell people they're going down to see the superintendent, and then they go in the opposite direction and may get mingling in with the children, and that's not a good idea. So they do a good job over there as far as the people that shouldn't be in the school are concerned. I don't know about the other schools, how they do it. I haven't been in one of the elementary schools for a long time. But it's the same here at the high school. All the doors are locked, supposedly. I think they are, most of them. There might be one open now and then, because in the rear of the building, there's somebody always coming and going because of the food delivery, bread, milk, all that kind of stuff. That got trucks come and go, so that door is open and closed 1,000,000 times a day. But if you want to come to the front door, they're going to have a scanning equipment there that when they take, I guess, take a picture of you, it'll automatically tell them all kinds of information about you if it's on the record. And if you're a good person, Mrs. Paris will probably open the door and let you in. City Council Comcast work, hit snag on Presidential Way. If you go to Demoulas, up in that neighborhood of the industrial park, instead of going right up by Dave and Buster's, you go the other way, they're doing a lot of hot top work up there. They're getting ready to do a lot of hot top work. And now comes Comcast. They want to dig up the street and put in pipes because they want to put new wires up into the industrial park, get everything up to date and fast electronic services and all that. I don't know how much faster they can make it, but apparently they can make it faster. But anyway, this is what happens. And it's very difficult to control. I think Comcast should have got a hold of the city a long time ago and told them what they were going to do, and that way the city wouldn't have, scheduled the hot top to do those roads. Now some of them are done, and I'm sure they'll hold up on the rest of it because there's no sense in hot top and have them come and dig it up. But I think the city council and the superintendent, I can't answer for them, but I think the superintendent of public works is beginning to get to the attitude that if you go and dig up the street, you're going to fix the street. You know, you're not going to put a patch on the street this big if somebody digs it up and fixes their water line, put a little patch like that on the street. They're going to make you, if you're the Comcast or the gas company or whoever it is, they're going to make you do the street from curb to curb. At least a big patch that after a couple of years is not making you get a jump out of the car when you drive over a pothole, you know what I mean? And so I think that's the way of the future. So if they go and dig up that street where the new hot top is, I'll bet you money they'll have to redo the whole street, not just a piece of it. I believe, if I have to, I'll call my alderman, Mr. Gately, and I'm sure he agrees with that 100%. There was another letter to the editor by a man called Todd Elliott about the consumer, what's CPA? CPA, what is it, Lawrence?
Commission,
Conservation Public Access or something like that. I don't know. I forget what it is.
Preservation.
Yeah. But anyway, it's part of getting the money. And the committee, they've had a couple of programs. They've had a couple of programs here. I think one anyway. Last week, was there one?
Yep.
And they come in and they're going to explain their piece. I think they got all summer long. They're going to be on the ballot. And I think as the summer drags on and everybody's getting ready for the 4th of July, they could care less about what the CPA is doing. But it's an interesting bit of business. Personally, my own personal opinion is that I think it is, I agree with Mr. Elliott a little bit because I think it is a duplication. In some cities and towns, they don't have the size of the government or the bureaucracy we have in the city of Woburn. You know, we have a conservation commission, we have public works, we have a park department that takes care of all the parklands. We have plenty of open space. We have a lot of open space. We have a lot of soccer fields. You know, we have a lot of stuff. And I'm sure there's things we need, but I'm not sure that we need to have another level of government where they get their money off your tax rate. They say it's not a tax, it's a surcharge, and then they'll be arguing about that all year long. Nobody will ever be able to prove it one way or the other. But we have all these departments now that do most of the work, I think, that the CPA people would be doing or asking to be done because they have money and they want to do things. So I think if there was there are certain cities and towns that probably would welcome CPA. I'm not ready to welcome it yet. And I thought that, and I have to check this out, Mr. Elliott's article said that the city of Boston hasn't adopted it yet. Now, I think that's where the CPA would get the dough off the transfers of real estate in the city of Boston. the kind of money they would be taking in, they'd have more money than the mayor of Boston maybe. But it's an interesting bit of business, and we'll try and do better as the summer progresses to educate the people on how or why they should vote. It should vote anyway, but I mean, if on that particular issue. On Woburn Common, the USS Maine cowl is being refurbished. Now, I don't know how many people, if you ask them, residents of the city of Woburn, say the USS Maine cowl, they say, what? You know, what's that? They say, you know, when you get right there, instead of going up Wynn Street straight, you go around the Common to the old Woburn 5-cent Savings Bank there, whatever it is now, Sandander or something like that. And there's a glass box, pretty big, maybe 6, 8 feet square, and inside this big piece of dented metal. And that piece of metal came off of a ship that was in, I'm not a historian, but I think it was in Havana Harbor. I got the date in 1888, and it was sunk there, torpedoed or blew up or somehow. And I always remember when I was in school, I thought there was a little skullduggery there, because the United States blamed the Spanish in Cuba for blowing it up, and it started the Spanish-American War. And then somebody would argue that we did it ourselves, and then that was a good reason for starting the war. So I don't know if that ever was resolved, those kind of arguments. But the guy up on Salem Street who does all this refurbishing in the State House and around Woburn and all these statues and things, he's going to do it all over. And it's going to go back in its glass cage, and people will come from all over as tourists and take pictures of it, of the USS Maine. I don't know why we got the cowl. I don't have the slide. It's a ventilation thing on the ship. So I don't know why we got it. Maybe somebody could tell us. To include accepting crowdfunding activities, school board mulls changes in gift regulations. Gift regulations. So they have a policy now, I think, where if a teacher wants to have a little fundraiser for taking the kids to the zoo or something, then they maybe rattle the parents up, say, sell some cookies or do something. And then they have to get permission from the principal. So now the thing gets more complicated, because they want to have the principal going to call the superintendent and ask him if it's okay, and then the superintendent has to put it on the ballot or on the committee agenda for the next meeting. So by the time they get to say it's okay to have a little fundraiser at the Shamrock School, all the kids will be in high school, and the thing will be a waste of time. This is how bureaucracy works, see? They just put it off and put it off and put it off and put it off. It just grows way out there. Way out there. All the teachers want to do is raise a few bucks, you know. But this all started when, you know, there was a discussion about doing things out around the football field or the baseball field. Somebody puts a little advertising on there, and they give a gift to the school, and then they get to put their name up. Or I think last year I read in the paper that part of the problem was that the volleyball team, which was very successful since its inception, was started by the athletic director with a gift from a Good Samaritan, it said. So I think that's wonderful. But by the time those things get through the process, the season's over, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you have to speed it up. You can't go from the athletic director to the principal to the school committee to the superintendent. Good grief, how many people? You know, we talk about transparency. This is like, this is a test of transparency, I think, anyway. And there's a congressman that, our congressman is the young woman from Melrose. You don't know her, Lauren. I forget her name now too. God, I must be getting Alzheimer's. But anyway, she was a representative in the legislature. She was an alderman in Melrose. And she went on to Washington to take Markey's place.
Catherine Clark.
Clark, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Catherine Clark, yeah. So she represents our district over here around Middlesex. And now in Essex County, which is all the North Shore, Gloucester, and all those places over there, this kid Moulton, an ex-Marine, very well decorated in the war and in Afghanistan and Iraq and all that stuff. So he upset John Tierney and became the representative from the North Shore. And for all the veterans in the city of Woburn that you see on Memorial Day, and we have an excellent veterans agent, and Larry Giuseppe, and his assistant Jennifer. So this guy is really good for veterans. He's a veteran. He knows what the problems are, and he's got his nose right in there. Even before I think before he made his maiden speech or anything, he goes to the VA to get services. So he went to the VA, and they stuck him in a line with everybody else because they didn't know who he was, you know. That's how the thing works. But fortunately enough, as far as I know, we go to Bedford over there at the Rogers VA Center. I never had to wait very long for an appointment, maybe a week or something to see a doctor. But all the rest of it, I don't have any problems with the VA. Now, in some places, like maybe that are more rural in northern Maine or Vermont or someplace, a veteran may have a bigger problem. Or I don't know how far a veteran from way out in the western part of Massachusetts would have to go to the VA. But stay in touch with, if you're a veteran, stay in touch with Mr. Moulton. He's a representative from the North Shore, and he's doing a good job. So watch out for him. He might be president someday, that kid. All right, that's it. See you Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. We're going to transfer the Bible, have a hot dog, and meet your neighbors and see what the kids did. The kids putting up beautiful flags that they made in school. Next time.